chosen one. Dearly beloved, this word did not come to you by chance. Rather, it exemplifies the full force of divine timing. I am the one who has selected all of you. Your spirit is at last prepared to accept the truth, and this is not a coincidence. God has a plan for you to be here. Imagine for a moment that I conveyed to you that the entity that has been assigned the responsibility of eliminating you is in fact pursuing you. Why does the specter that was intended to destroy you and the weapon that was fashioned in a horrible manner tremble not out of fear, but out of amazement when it sees you coming? Rather than being a work of fiction, this is a spiritual reality. Because of the vocation that you have chosen, you have become a target. The power was called to muffle your voice, and obscenities were thrown at your very existence. A divine strike was directed at your tranquility, your goal, and your fate. It was directed within unseen realms, the light that resides within you, which is your divine essence and your spiritual purity, did not only combat the darkness, rather, it captivated it. This was a startling event that took place. Your light flashed brighter than the assignment, and a monster that was working to kill you was overpowered by your frequency. This is not because you lack strength. Rather, it is because your light shone brighter than the task. This is a message that will resonate with everyone who has experienced the transformation and the intensity of spiritual warfare. Those who are conscious of the fact that something that once endeavored to ensnare them is now studying, following, and watching them. For the sake of illustrating how profound and genuine this is, we shall divide it up into 7 chapters. One who has been chosen, who is being persecuted, and who is being sought after spiritually, but who continues to climb with a purpose, who remains steadfast in truth, and who walks in the light, is the recipient of this message. I would be extremely grateful if you could give this a like, share it with others, and subscribe to my channel before we get started. If you feel that this message is particularly relevant to you, please leave the number 55 in the comments section. That the darkness that threatened to swallow you is now being defeated by the light that exists inside you is a heavenly proof that this number is more than just a number. Only those who are truly chosen will be able to persevere through the process, and those who are able to do so will acquire the fortitude, wisdom, and comprehension that they have been experiencing but yet are unable to locate. If your spirit ever needs a refresher, you should return to this message. With each listening, a new level of strength will become apparent. You will discover more truth the more you listen to what others have to say. Come on, we can start right away. You are not here by accident. If you feel the pull, the knowing deep inside that you are chosen, this is your moment. Click the super thank you button and give $50 or more to unlock deeper insights, exclusive content, and a path that aligns with your divine purpose. This isn't just a contribution, it's a declaration, a step toward who you were meant to be. Answer the call, walk with us, and step fully into your destiny. Your journey begins now. You started facing difficulties the moment you woke up, the moment you started walking with intention, and the moment you refused to behave in an incorrect manner. This is the time when you refuse to play small, water down your thoughts, or shrink in order to suit other people. You were a significant contributor to the revelation of issues that others had been keeping hidden for a considerable amount of time. One of the reasons that others feel uneasy with your genuineness is not because you are incorrect, but rather because it brings back memories of their youth. Simply by being who you are, shining brightly, loving without pretense, and speaking your thoughts without an audience, you are something that people find attractive. This underlying animosity along with all of that stress and weight, was very much felt. The fact that you were the target of their ridicule, exclusion, and miscommunication did not change the fact that you were also privately idolized, mimicked, and observed from a distance. How come? To put it another way, you are bringing a present that is not only meaningful, but also genuine and long-lasting. Holy frequency, and not simple charm or expertise, is what causes any constructed structure to shake. You exude an aura that is uplifting to everyone around you, and your energy is able to dissipate lies. On account of the fact that you were never average, you have been singled out for attention. Bullets are not wasted by the adversary when they are thrown into empty places. Because of the burden of destiny that rests on your shoulders, you were specifically selected. The habits, fortresses, and lies that have been passed down through generations can be broken, but you pose a threat to that endeavor. Your feet are disciplined, your voice is powerful, and you have a purposeful calling. Hell is aware of all of these things about you. Instead of being motivated solely by personal animosity, the assaults were intended to be premeditated. The goal was never simply to make you feel bad. Rather, it was to prevent your message from reaching the audience for which it was intended, to undermine your self-assurance before you could recognize your own power, and to deplete your energy before you could take on the challenge that was in front of you. Despite this, it was not successful. You continued to rise in spite of their mistrust. You continued to walk in spite of their false charges. And you continued to be there in spite of the substantial amount of pressure that was being applied to you. Because of this, you pose a danger to others. You rejected the idea of giving in, making concessions, or adjusting. There is no way that your brilliance could be overlooked, that it could be concealed, or that it could be diluted. Not your shortcomings, but rather your potential, was the thing that set you apart from everyone else. Because of their precognitive abilities, they were able to know what was going through your head even before you did. In spite of the fact that you were chosen not only to exist, but also to upend, guide, and free, those who were unable to control your brilliance attempted to extinguish it. They were unaware of the fact that you were chosen. As a result of each assault, lying and betrayal, your knowledge, willpower, and genuine character have all been enhanced. Although there is darkness in the world, the fact that you are a living incarnation of light should never be called into question. Your burden is something that cannot be surpassed, replaced, or hushed. It is something that cannot be buried. Rather than being a metaphor or a work of fiction, this is a spiritual war that is taking place in broad daylight, with true circumstances involving actual people and actual suffering. In addition to being a terrible season, several of you barely made it through the season. You were successful in overcoming psychological assaults that almost caused you to look within and blame yourself. As a result of deliberate emotional sabotage, your energy dwindled and your intuition was called into question. You lost friends, opportunities, and support networks that you had not anticipated. And everything seemed to be laid out in advance, as if someone or something were pulling the strings from behind the scenes. Your assassination was thoroughly planned and executed. There was no mistake involved. Before you were ever born, ancient spirits and malevolent forces had already taken notice of your light. They were able to sense your purpose, potential, and calling, and they were afraid of you. They preyed on you while you were young and still learning because they could not afford to be patient and wait for you to come to grips with who you are. They understood that it would be too late to stop you after you had raised yourself up, healed yourself, and accepted your anointing. When the devils finally made their appearance, they brought with them Not violence or swords, but rather terror, confusion, and hopelessness. The purpose of their visit was to cause you to have doubts about yourself, to discourage you from speaking up, to distort your perceptions, and to rob you of your peace. Conversations were transformed into battlegrounds, relationships were weaponized, and individuals you trusted were exploited as puppets to break down doors that you had wanted to break down. You were not unprepared. Rather, your adversary was attempting to persuade you that you were not worthy of consideration. That you would give in and fall apart was a predictable outcome. In order to make you feel so down that you give up on your future before it even begins, the plot was meticulously created to make you feel hopeless. Instead, the opponent made a mistake in their argument. Despite the fact that you were experiencing agonizing pain and actual attacks, you maintained your strength. Even though you were kneeling, crying, sleeping less, and wondering about everything, you continued on with your journey. The weaponry was unsuccessful, despite the fact that it was created. How come? The fact that you are a survivor has already been marked by God for all of eternity. Nothing, not even the most nefarious of beasts, could change the course of your destiny. It had already been decided before the world came into being. There are some who have been selected, and those who have been chosen are protected. Rather than being a kind of punishment, this was a type of training. This is not the conclusion. Rather, it is the preparation. You are now in possession of authority that was just as genuine as the one that was used against you, because you have persevered through the assignment. If you feel the abundance of divine love filling your heart, now is the perfect time to share it. By clicking the super thank you button on YouTube and contributing $100 or more, you can help spread God's blessings far and wide. Your offering will not only touch your own life, but also reach countless souls through this platform. Each of you holds a sacred place in God's magnificent plan, and your generosity will be the answer to many prayers. Take action now. Share your blessings to honor His kingdom, for you were created to accomplish even greater works through His loving hands. May God's grace be with you. It was a remarkable turn of events that you did not tremble in the face of the terrible power that was approaching. Despite appearances, you did not give in to the strain, give in to the storm, or allow the flames to consume you all. You, on the other hand, stood up, withdrawing within and maintaining a state of great quiet and silence. You prayed as if your own existence depended on the answers to your prayers. Your focus moved from reacting to perceiving. You were more attentive when you were listening than when you were verbally communicating. You weren't actually losing your inner strength. Rather, you were actually finding it. When the devil came to consume you, you were anticipating it to be a place of weakness, panic, and injury. As someone who is physically unique, resilient in the face of hardship, loving even when loathed, mourning while still being worshipped, forgiving while still reeling from betrayal, and graceful when all indicators led to retaliation, nothing could have prepared you for what you are going to experience. Your interference with its programming, which resulted in it studying you instead of destroying it, was the means by which you prevented its destruction. If you could have envisioned it, you would have become more calm, more optimistic, and more resilient than you actually are. You prayed more when it pressed you, and when it murmured lies, you stood more firmly on the truth instead. The strains of suffering should have caused you to give in, yet you chose not to. Everything altered as a result of the outcome. The force that was supposed to shatter you began to malfunction in the apparatus, and you began to jerk as a result. Manipulation, humiliation, and terror were all useless strategies for you because you were the specific target. In your haste, you resulted in the design being destroyed and the mold being broken. Your light began to enlighten the world around you. Locations that had previously been able to contain you were no longer able to do so. Concealed adversaries became restless, and fictitious allies no longer existed. You did not only move through the shadows, rather, you approached them with a brilliant light and proceeded to convert them. Due to the fact that you contradict the preset cycles of the systems of darkness, they do not function in the same way that you do. You do not shrink in fear, and the spirit, instead of the ego, is the driving force behind your acts. As a consequence of this, the system developed a flaw, and the plan fell apart from the inside out. The story was completely rewritten as a result of your light, which sent a message to both the underworld and the heavens. This one is powerful, uncompromising, and extraordinary. Following the exposure of the system, it ceased to function in the appropriate manner. Simply being in the same room as you has the ability to affect the environment. You are a person who can completely change the course of events and break the chain. From the beginning, you were the hero. Your presence was not merely observed by others, it was also felt by them. Although your survival was a victory in and of itself, it also served as a cautionary tale to anyone who had the audacity to go against the plan that God had devised. As soon as the monster arrived with a mission of hatred, you were the target of devastation. The depletion of your energy, impaired judgment, and a future that was gone forever. After examining your anxieties, wounds, and scars, it came to the conclusion that it had all of the components necessary to finish you out. Given that your response was distinct from that of everyone else, however, the situation became increasingly perplexing as it got closer. Because of your ancient and divine armor, you are completely immune to practices that involve manipulating your emotions and instilling fear in others. After the assault, a sense of attraction began to linger. You caused it to get confused, and it was unable to understand what you were saying. You possessed an exceptionally high spiritual frequency that was also extremely sophisticated and purified. Instead of collapsing, becoming resentful, or losing it, you learned to be calm, grew, and then forgave. You did not curse it, but rather started a fire in its stead. Your aura was both potent and captivating, while it was present in the realm of the spirit. You are able to survive in circumstances that are designed to dim your brightness, which even the demon could not grasp. The manifestation of a more fundamental form of hatred led to the development of a fixation with spiritual matters. Your connection with God, as well as your steadfastness, tranquility, and brightness, were more valuable than any position or possessions you might have possessed. The fact that it was fixated on an ideal that was impossible to achieve drove it astray. Not a romantic love, but rather a melancholy admiration, a longing that had its origins in disappointment, was what it was. In addition to being encased, shielded, concealed, and restricted, your spirit was as well. Every time you made an attempt to sneak in, your grounded spirit, which is a spirit that is not suited to this world, was always discovered. In the beginning, it was intended to break you, but it ended up doing the opposite. Shadows were revealed, undone, and captured by light that it did not fathom. This light rushed over the shadows. As a result of your actions, the atmosphere was altered. The assault was transformed into a revelation, and your adversaries were rendered speechless. The people who were trying to destroy you are unable to stop observing your rise, because your brightness converted their hatred into an obsession. From this point on, There is a reason why the assaults appear to be distinct. There is a noticeable improvement in sight, as well as a lighter weight to everything. Even though they were ultimately defeated, the opponents refused to give up. You were not killed by the hit that was intended to kill you. The mission was a failure, and the blueprint was torn. Over the course of your life, the force that was once unrestricted has been rendered ineffective. You are no longer allowed to touch the demon, who is your hunter. Instead, it observes you from a distance, feeling confused, frustrated, and helpless. Singing praises, gaining calmness, and controlling the flames are all skills that you have acquired despite the storms. Then, it decided to let go of you. With your actions, you assumed control of the spiritual realm. Now, rather of being reactive, you are discriminating, and you carry calm with you, rather than asking for it specifically. You have a sufficient understanding of yourself to approach conflict with wisdom and to stop yourself from getting involved in confrontations that are not essential. Standing tall and confident in your own light can help you win some conflicts, and you have seen and experienced enough to know that this is true. It is you who is the hunter, not the one being hunted. When you stopped acting in an unreasonable manner, put your faith ahead of vengeance, and went on regardless of how difficult things were, the spiritual realm took notice of your actions. Due to the fact that you barely survived, you have confused the spiritual realm. Because you were successful in completing the task, your rank has been modified. A higher rank, wisdom, a shield of protection, and an aura that evil cannot match were conferred upon those who chose honesty, direction, and enlightenment over dishonesty, chaos, and defeat in the unseen domain. These individuals were elevated to a higher level, bestowed with wisdom, and encompassed by a shield of protection. Your rank is recognized by bad powers, and they respect your robe, even if they do not enjoy your humanity. It has not disappeared. Rather, it has simply become more knowledgeable, which indicates that the same warfare is no longer taking place. Because you are unique and recognizable, there is no way that I will ever be able to touch you again. Therefore, you should not be afraid of the night or continue with caution in your spiritual life because you have triumphed over a significant amount of adversity. You have become impenetrable as a result of your survival. The shift in question encompasses more than just the concept of security. At this point in your spiritual journey, you have progressed to a new level, when the emphasis is no longer on demonstrating your value, but rather on expanding and blooming. Now, we have reached the conclusion of the explaining stage. You prevailed against misunderstandings, betrayal, flames, and silence without losing your composure. You have evolved into a person who exudes an air of polished refinement throughout your entire experience. In this particular instance, it is very evident that the time was just right. You have been sent because you are well established and moving forward. It is not for the sake of the show that you have been sent. Your desire for external validation is no longer what drives you. Rather, you bring affirmation from on high to the table. A greater power has the ability to pacify demons. The creature that had the intention of destroying you is now fixated on the light that you hold. In spite of the fact that they have not changed, individuals who were once your adversaries are now unable to interact with you. Since their power is unable to penetrate your fortifications, their attacks are fruitless and will not succeed. Your ability to stand, glow, and move with strength and calmness perplexes them, and they observe you from a distance. At this moment, the energies of your adversaries are attempting to imitate you. Rather than being an act of flattery, this is evidence of the significant impact that your metamorphosis has had on everyone. You are not here by accident. If you feel the pull, the knowing deep inside that you are chosen, this is your moment. Click the super thank you button and give $50 or more to unlock deeper insights, exclusive content, and a path that aligns with your divine purpose. This isn't just a contribution, it's a declaration, a step toward who you were meant to be. Answer the call, walk with us, and step fully into your destiny. Your journey begins now. In your life, you have demonstrated that heaven takes care of itself, that no weapon ever produced will be successful, that rejection is actually a divine rerouting, that the pit is an integral part of the walk, and that enlightenment is born in solitude. These are the realities that you have exemplified. It is said in Psalm 25 that though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. And that is precisely what you are. The mountain is opening up before you, and you have just finished singing your way through the valley. You are surrounded by good fortune. Opportunities come to you in unexpected ways, and worry is replaced with a sense of rest and relaxation. You are being directed by a higher force in the actions that you take. It is during harvest season that one is most likely to experience feelings of optimism, insight, opportunity, and spiritual enlightenment. You have been concealed for a specific reason, and the reveal that you have made has a purpose as well. The time has arrived for you to become into the kind of person that evil drew fear from, that heaven envisioned, and that humanity so urgently needs. Take courageous actions, move with conviction, and speak with conviction when you are working. Now that you are aware of the reality, you should avoid engagement in conflicts that are not required. You should avoid bringing up painful memories or reopening doors that God has shut in order to demonstrate that the storm has passed, the battle has been won, or the demon has been disarmed. That was the period you were in. In today's world, the greatest threat will come from your own weakness, not from the strength of your adversary. Illusions have the potential to mislead. The adversary, recognizing that it is unable to extinguish your light, endeavors to trap you in your previous conflicts, feelings, and ways of thinking in the hope that you will deliberately dim it. These locations are appealing when you are bored of being by yourself because of their familiarity and the absence of authority that they command. But the freedom that you are called to is not familiarity. Rather, it is independence. In order to achieve freedom, one must cultivate the ability to rise even when they are alone themselves, persevere despite misunderstandings, and let go of coldness while maintaining clarity. Avoid conflict with those who have already been vanquished. You are completely free from the influence of the evil that you fought against. The anarchy that was in charge of your feelings is shaken as a result of your tranquility, which terrifies the monster who preyed on your ideas. You have spiritual strength, resonance, and rank at the very moment that you are in possession of them. Your sheer presence will have more influence than any apologies you will never get. Your brightness will outshine any debate, and your calm will outshout any defense. When unpleasant feelings emerge, resist the need to justify yourself. Your presence alone will have no impact.